over here. We're gonna go straight into technique today.
Whoops, sorry.
A nice and easy submission. I like when Sunshine takes control of the situation. Shows leadership.
It's only gonna pay the big bucks now.
Yeah, that's why you got that 50-cent raise per hour.
I did?
No. If you pull a move like that 15 or 16 more times, you got that raise. Okay. The move I'm going to show you is one of the most high percentage lapel-based submissions that there is. Some of the upper belts may be familiar with this technique, but we're going to go over it again for you guys and for the worm master over here. Give him some more lapel stuff to work with. So, we're going to be in side control. Head this way, please. There's a few ways to do this one. First, I'm going to just demonstrate it for you. I'm going to be choking him here with my lapel, my far side lapel. You open your lapel up and you bring it across his neck like this, and we're going to be able to generate a lot of choking pressure with this, okay? But it's very important that when you do this choke, that you sneak it up on him. You don't want him to see this coming. Even if they see it coming, it can be very difficult to defend, but it has a unique property that if you sneak it on them and they don't expect it, it's over. They have no chance of defending this one. So even though there are some defenses, just like there are to any move, but this one, there's an easy way to disguise it so they don't see it coming. Okay, we're in side control, and I want to make sure that I have his arm in my hip like this. If you leave the arm underneath here, it just allows him too much mobility to rotate his hips this way. He can start walking his hips, and it just gives him mobility to move. But the second you isolate this arm, it stops all that spinning motion, right? Now to disguise it, if I just immediately start grabbing at my lapel and going like this, his hand is going to be there to stop it immediately. He'll even probably try and just tuck his chin. He might even just block like this. So if I try and do it, it's going to be over his wrist, things like that. So you kind of want to disguise it, and the way you do that is literally by covering his eyes. I just bring my armpit over his face. Once my armpit and arm is over his face, and I just came from the gym, so it's probably not smelling too good either. Give him a lot of stuff to think about here. I'm going to switch my hips like this. When I switch my hips, let's turn right here so they can see. I subtly and sneakily, without making any noise, open my lapel. Okay? He won't be able to see any of this. For all he knows, I'm attacking a Kimura still. I'll like play with his wrist, controlling like this, make him think about something else, and then just open my lapel really fast, and then go back to what I was doing. Once it's out and open, putting just a little pressure here with my hips into his armpit gives him something to think about while I bring this over to my other hand. And you actually don't want to pass it to the other hand right away. Just bring it here near it. And then switch your hips back again. Blocking, make sure you connect your hip to his ribs here. Look how I keep his face covered. I keep his face covered until I'm ready to reach under his head. At this point, if he brings his hand to defend, he can only reach over the top of the lapel grip. He can't get it underneath where it would actually be effective. So I was over his head, I bring it over the top of my hand, and then expose it. This is where he'll realize that he's in danger, but at this point it's too late. Put a lot of pressure on his ribs with your ribs, and lift his head and pass the grip to your hand. It's okay, it's actually better to grab a little lower on the lapel for this one. If you grab too tight, you won't be able to rotate enough to actually generate choking pressure. But if you grab loose, it really lets you lock this position in and then start to get a lot of spinning motion here, because you're basically wrapping your own gi around his neck. It's not like a cross choke where you're putting pressure down on his throat. You're trying to wrap this lapel around his neck. Once you have this position here, all you need to worry about is make sure your elbow stays down as much as possible. Just don't lift your elbow like this. He might be able to weave his hands underneath, he might be able to armbar you. Just any space you give him here is gonna help him defend. So keep your elbow down, try and connect it to your chest or your ribs here and his shoulders. Keep it down, that's all you have to worry about. Then my right hand is going to go to the far hip. On the mat, I put my head on his belly button, and I'm going to use that as a point of rotation as I lift my hips into the air and spin. Okay? So what's cool about this is once you start spinning, he has nowhere to follow you to relieve pressure, because my hand is on his hip here, so he can't actually move his hips this way. If my hand wasn't there, he might be able to start walking with me. It probably won't save him, but it'll give him just a little bit of extra defense, right? Which we can take that away from him just by putting my hand there. So I put my hand by his hip, blocking that, put my forehead down in the middle of his stomach. I don't put my head on the mat here because now my own head is stopping me from spinning. You can still get the choke here. The choke is super tight, but we want to optimize it as much as possible. So to be efficient with the movement, bring your head on top and spin this way. If anything, you want to put your head on the opposite hip, on the ground, like this. I like to keep my head on his stomach just in case I want to switch back to something else. Here. Are you okay? He's not asleep, is he? Okay. So you never know with these things. Okay, and then I start rotating. I'm going to let go of the lapel as I go here just to demonstrate the movement, but normally you would keep your left hand on the lapel. So as I spin, if the guy's really tough, he may still not tap. You actually just keep spinning here. And you can keep generating more force and wrapping that lapel around his neck, cutting off all sides. Okay? Now sometimes, when you're doing this movement, they can see it coming anyways. Like, even if I block his eye, he might feel this as I'm trying to set something up and block it. In these situations, you have to fake them out. And what you do is instead of using just this lapel, you can use your other lapel. So sometimes here, I have a lot of control here. Like, he can't bridge me and bump me off. I'll control his knee. I'll keep my elbow and my hip connected tight so his arms are stuck like this. He can't really jump away or knock me off in this control. It's kind of a reverse scarf hold or reverse kesikatami. From here, I'm trying to choke him with this lapel, but if he's, like, say he grabs a hold of it and hangs onto it thinking that this is the only lapel I can choke with, I'm just going to use the bottom one to do the exact same thing here. So even if he manages to get a hold of one lapel to defend it, maybe you trained with this person before and he knows your tricks, you got this second lineup for him. This one can be even tighter. The same exact finish, hand goes to the far hip, and then extend the arm, head down, and rotate. You get the choke. Okay? So you want to play around with different lapels here. It's just off the basic side control, and you just cover the head. Look how my knee, turn this way more, Mike. When I'm in side control here, this is normal side control. Watch what I do with my knee. I slide my knee up under his armpit, so his tricep is on my thigh. Then I cover his head here. Then what this does is it allows me to maintain contact with his elbow and his arm the entire time as I switch my hips. If I don't do this, and I try and switch my hips here as I cover, he may be able to slip his arm underneath. And then this is not as strong of a control because I don't have this arm trapped. So I want to maintain control of that arm when you set this up. So I'm here, pressure, bring my thigh up underneath, bring that hip tight into his arm, cover his face, and then drop my hip down. From here, I like to threaten the Kimura, rotate back again. I like to threaten the Kimura to give him something to think about. Well, usually once he grabs his belt, that's a good time to get the lapel and start passing it. If you know he's going to start trying to defend that the second he feels that, he can reach with this hand to grab the lapel or something. I bring the other one across here. In some cases, he might grab this lapel, in which case I would slide this one underneath and switch again. And then he's kind of confused, like which one does he even grab at this point? He can't grab both of them at the same time. You could literally just switch back and forth depending on how much he defends. You could even do both if you're crazy. No one's ever done this before. So those are your options. Once you get one of them, extend the arm, keep the pressure the whole time. I have my chest on him, then I put my head on his stomach. I kind of twist my elbow to force his chin into the choke and get the choke there. Okay? Any questions on that? Let's try it, guys. 1, 2, 3.